If you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to ask for a glass of milk. But if you give a mouse a switchblade, he'll wreak havoc on a tiny rodent kingdom and try to kill a god. Well, that escalated quickly. I don't think I have what it takes to be an exotic pet owner, but I do think rodents are pretty cute. So when I saw rats fighting cats in a medieval world with pixel art and great music in the Small Saga trailer, I was like, I need to play this game. Daria Nogani does a beautiful job at creating a diverse world on a small scale in their incredible indie pixel turn-based RPG, Small Saga. Small Saga is such a fun take on dark fantasy because it's like you're a knight fighting a dragon, but instead of a dragon, it's a house cat and also you're a mouse wielding an army knife. But there's still mages and bards and magic and grandeur and puns and mice living in little boxes and boots. The premise might sound silly, but this game is not for kids. Small Saga is a tiny adventure that makes up for its small stature with fleshed out characters, compelling storytelling, and a level of immersion that makes this a truly unique indie game. Of course, this game about medieval rats made me squeal with joy, but it also surprised me, saddened me, and even disturbed me at some points, and everything in between. It's one of the most unique games I played in 2023, and I'd like to share what I really liked about the game, starting with the art. The first thing I noticed was the isometric movement, also known as a 2.5D environment, making the game feel dimensional and really satisfying to see the characters move back and forth through space. It looks like a 2D pixel game, but it plays like a 3D game, if that makes sense. This movement combined with the art style gives so much depth to the aesthetics of the game. The character art, the enemies, animations, the environment, they all had so much detail that brought the game to life. Lovely backdrops were accompanied by flowing streams, falling leaves, and tall grasses blowing in the wind. I would often stop just to appreciate the scenery a little longer. Also, this happened.
You see an incredibly lewd magazine titled Squeak. Okay. Whoa. Why is it good? Wait, is there more? No!
Every region and room is filled with Easter eggs pertaining to rodent lore, and the game yields rewards for exploration. I really felt like the developer took great care into making every scene of the game enjoyable to look at. Bits and pieces of the environment felt so intentional, like a mouse sleeping in a shoe or the use of a ruler as a bridge. And for a game with turn-based combat, the battle sequences are surprisingly high energy and cinematic. If the art of Small Saga doesn't charm you right away, it's only a matter of time until you find yourself appreciating the small details that make this title a true gem. I would say this game is worth buying for the art alone. And the soundtrack. Aside from visual art, music is an important element for me when I think about how much I enjoyed a game. And man, the music in this game slaps. Small Saga's soundtrack features 83 pieces of music that perfectly set the mood, scene, or character. There's over 20 battle themes, 4 songs performed by a rat bard, Baroque piano solos, Celtic rock, drum and bass, and more. So many songs and character themes were so poignant and meaningful. It's obvious that a lot of attention was paid to this area of development. This game is story-rich, segmented into 4 seasons mostly centering around your character, but as your party grows, you get to play as the other characters to gain their perspectives as well. In this epic story, you play as Verm, a mouse without a tail, looking for revenge against a human, known as gods in their world, who took something away from him. Verm recruits a few companions on his journey, and the group comes face to face with many titans, monarchs, and machinery along the way. The plot was surprisingly representation-oriented and had much more political undertones than I was expecting. Without trying to spoil too much, the Kingdom of Rodentia felt a little too similar to the real world at times. I'll go deeper into my criticisms a little later. Aside from that, the writing is so good. If there's anything lacking in this game, it's not in the narrative category. Every character has their own distinct personality, and thanks to the use of time skips, you get to watch them grow and experience full character arcs in the 10 to 15 hours of your playtime. Most AAA game titles aren't written half as well or with as many fully realized characters. Another little detail was the cursing, which actually was kind of refreshing. Hearing little mice say shit and hell felt right for some reason. And even though there's no voice acting in the game, each character had a distinct or certain pattern of talking, like how Bruce the Red Squirrel spoke in an Irish accent. Choices like these go a long way, and I was utterly charmed by the game's diverse cast. Small Saga is described as a tightly focused, boss-oriented adventure. The game is quite linear and there's no grinding, with each phase transitioning from one to the next, and I never felt like I was wandering around with no purpose or didn't know what to do. The game does a good job at guiding you from one goal to the next, and there was only really one occasion where I wasn't sure how to progress. Despite its linear nature, you can still have a unique experience. My partner played this game after me, and by the end of his run he had discovered a couple of secrets that I hadn't. I love the characters and the way they complement each other in battle. Even though combat was not challenging, I appreciated the variety of bosses, scenarios, and equipable items that kept each fight feeling fresh and interesting. You can even refund skill points at no cost to experiment with different strategies in battle. Because of how creative each encounter felt, I never felt like the lack of difficulty was taking away from the game. I was able to get a rhythm down for each fight, and I actually didn't die once, although there were a couple of close calls. Some people might find this to be an issue, so if you're looking for a tough challenge or complex fighting mechanics, this game might not be for you as it is highly story-driven. Despite some saying that this game is more of a visual novel with brief periods of battle, I still enjoyed all of the combat, skill leveling, and exploration the game offered. Games don't need to be difficult, hardcore, or unforgiving to be good. In their interview with Construct, Daria said that they aimed to make a game that was tightly scripted and had minimal grinding, but dealt with big emotions, themes, and spectacle. And for what it is, I think the game accomplishes this pretty well. Nothing is safe from criticism though, so let's quickly go over what didn't really land for me as I played the game. Some parts of the story or writing felt a little out of place, for example, the lol mouse and words like soft boy in the script. I think there's a theory somewhere that the rodents got a hold of some smartphones that taught them god language, like trolling and leet speak, but this isn't really explained and it feels more jarring rather than humorous or whatever was trying to be achieved here. The overall pace of the game is generally good, but the ending felt a little rushed, like you were seeing side character development happening within like an hour of confronting the final boss. Because of this, there are some events that feel a little out of place, but overall it wasn't anything that was immersion breaking or a major detraction from the main story. For what it's worth, I'm actually impressed that this game introduces and develops so many characters in such a short window. Another thing I was mildly disappointed by was the map. I thought the world would be a little bigger, and some areas are hinted at by some of the characters that you never get to actually reach. For instance, if you talk to the merchant Gerbo in Mérida, he mentions a location called Al-Mamlakat Al-Far by the Mangrove Sea. Because of this, I was under the impression that I would eventually make my way there, but unless I totally missed an optional questline, I never got to see this region. There are a few main story areas and then a couple of offhand locations for side quests, but that's about it. Another thing is, I played this game on mouse and keyboard, and it was a little clunky. I kept forgetting that I could sprint, and then when I did remember, I would get a little too crazy with the movement and glitch out of bounds somehow, but this only happened one time. And lastly, the game plays more like a visual novel than a combat-driven RPG, but if you enjoy a good story, this isn't a downfall by any means. I've highlighted every aspect of this game I can think of individually, but I wanted to emphasize how well everything melds together. By and large, Small Saga is a refreshing and magical little story that you won't forget. I highly recommend this game to all gamers, indie collectors, and casual players alike. For the most part, I think the biggest issue people had with Small Saga was that there wasn't enough of it, which I think is kind of like a compliment in disguise. I don't want to give any more away. This game is really worth the buy to see for yourself. The high quality of the art and storytelling makes up for its brevity and simple combat. This game doesn't do anything particularly cutting edge, it's not groundbreakingly difficult, but it will present you with a beautifully told story that feels like a breath of fresh air or a homemade meal. I'm looking forward to the developer's next project because I personally believe we could always use more colorful indie titles. Some people think the game is too short for it to be priced at $20, but I disagree. I think that people forget that indie development is usually done by one or a few people, and this game is a piece of art that is surely worth more than a couple of orders at Starbucks. I'd love to see an update in the future, but I'm pleased with the game in its current state. Overall, the art, music, and narrative make Small Saga a high-quality indie title worthy of a spot in your Steam library. If you're at all hesitant, or you're saving for a rainy day, throw it on your wishlist and grab it on sale. Thank you so much for watching this video. I actually streamed my playthrough of Small Saga on Twitch last year, so if you're interested in seeing the gameplay, just let me know in the comments and I'd be happy to upload the VODs in a playlist. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.